Hello and welcome back to my hardware review. Today I'm going to look at the E10M20-Ti. I know, what a catchy name, right? But this is a card that I've wanted to get my hands on for a very, very, very long time. A year ago in Taiwan at their Synology Solution Exhibition, we saw this knocking around on top of another NAS, and my eye caught it and I was like, I must have you now. Because this is a very interesting card from Synology. They're not the first to come out with this kind of technology, but I think this might be the best example of it. But we do have a comparison coming soon on that very subject. But this is their NVMe SSD and 10 upgrade card. It's a combo card that allows you to improve both the internal operations of your NAS and the external operations as well. In today's hardware review, we're going to talk about what we love, what we're not so keen on, and we're going to ultimately try and figure out whether you need this to improve your NAS abilities and your internal performance, and whether your operation and your workflow could do with an improvement. Now, I have filmed an unboxing video where I'm going to go into way more detail about what you get for your money, but I'm going to skip over that a little bit in this because we want to care more about the card. But there is a hardware review in the description to NAS Compares. And of course, you can pick up the card from guys at span.com. And if you're wondering about whether you need this card, do go into the description, head over to them, take advantage of all of their free advice areas and the live chat and stuff like that, because they might be able to help you and let you know whether you even need this card. But you've got your instruction manual, you've got your screws, you've got heat sinks. We might touch on those later on. We have got backplane there, we will touch on that later on. We have got the heatsink, which we're definitely going to touch on later on, and we've got our card. Now, we will be doing a full performance test of this card using a Synology DS1618 Plus. We went for the kind of middle ground 6-bay there because we wanted to see this card's real-time improvement, both the 10 GBE and the NVMe SSD bays. Now, this is a very interesting card for several reasons, which I'm going to go through during the course of this video. It has huge advantages over both the 10 GBE card and the NVMe SSD card that came before it, the the M2D1-8. The reason that I'm so interested in this card isn't just that it's a combo card. It's the most mature version of this card I've seen for a very long time. And by that, what I mean is, we have seen NVMe SSD cache cards from the guys at Synology. We have seen 10 GBE cards from the guys at Synology. This takes the logic of both of those and doesn't just bolt them together on a PCIe. It kind of done it in a very mature manner. So, case in point, the first thing you may have noticed is those NVMe bays. Now, the NVMe bays on this go all the way up to 22110. That is the much longer length NVMe's right now. So that's not the longest NVMe's you can get. The longest ones you can get these days are kind of known as the ruler. They're 30cm ones. They're massive, but at the same time, they are hugely enterprise data center level stuff. This is kind of where we're living in small medium business right now. And although you can get 4 TB at the 2280 length right now, there are 8 TB available at that length as well. But they use quad layer NAND or quad layer cell NAND, QLC, which give you lesser performance in terms of read and write, and they don't last as long. Now, the longer length NVMe's are a different story. They either allow you to get larger capacities of QLC and TLC NAND, or these longer length ones will allow you to get the standard 4 or 8 TB, but utilizing better NAND options. So we're talking about a card that was designed for future-proofing anyway to improve the performance of your system, but at the same time they've done it with those greater long-length NVMe's, where this is where the technology is going. On top of that, we can talk about cooling. The cooling of this device, there are the kind of silicon pads that you put to each of the NVMe's in multiple areas, and they make sure that there's a bit of heat resistance built in. But on top of that, you've got that lovely big Synology heatsink there. Now, this heatsink, already marked at the rear there with where you put those NVMe pads, goes straight onto the front of that card. And again, it's spring-loaded screws there. We're going to be a bit delicate there. We're not going to screw them in. As you can see, we've got lots of space there, and those spring-loaded screws will make sure that heatsink is touching the drives, but touching the drives in a way that will keep them lovely and cool and dissipate that heat effectively. Now, this is going to be working with a NAS that already has an active cooling system of fans throughout it. So not only is the cool air going to be going over that heatsink, but they have added ventilation there on the back of the card, something that is absent on both the 10GBE card and the NVMe cache card. Both of them have just got a static, flat heatsink there with no ventilation built around them. Both the full length and the half length that's on the card have got that ventilation built in. Now, the NVMe's on this, because you can utilize those longer length NVMe's, you're going to have a lot of storage potential there in terms of caching. Now, on the front there, we have got that 10G base T port there, that 10GBE using copper. There isn't an SFP version of it, and I don't know if there will. I hope Synology goes down that road, or maybe it's not possible. We'll have to see. But that 10G base T port can also utilize 2.5 and 5GBE as well, which I know a number of you will just assume they all can, but they really can't. Some of these cards only support 10G. They don't have a variable speed built into them. And if you are utilizing this card to connect your NAS to a switch with lots of different users, you may want to have those different priority connections, as well as wanting to connect directly with this card, point to point with the 10GBE card on your PC or Mac system for live editing and reinventing your workflow. Now, it's worth highlighting that both the 10GBE and the NVMe's on this one card, which is good, share a PCIe slot, that one at the base. Now, that PCIe slot there on the base, it's worth highlighting that that is a PCIe Gen 3 times 8. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, because the 10GBE there utilizes 1,000 megabytes per second. These NVMe's, and particularly ones like the Seagate Iron Wolf PCIe Gen 3 times 4, those cards can have somewhere between 2,000, 3,500, and in surplus of 4,000 megabytes per second performance. If you've got two NVMe's inside here, if they're being read and written to simultaneously and they're sharing that bandwidth, that's an enormous amount of speed going through that PCIe connector. And again, PCIe Gen 3 times 8, which will translate to around 8,000 megabytes per second. You've already lost 1,000 to the 10G. So you need to know you have sufficient bandwidth for those NVMe's. And another 7,000 megs is pretty good. That's allowing 3,500 to each of the NVMe's, which they can leverage accordingly with the SSD caching system that you build. That's one of the reasons I talk about the maturity of this card. It isn't just about the M2 NVMe length. It's not just about the cooling. It's about choosing a PCIe connector that can support both of them. Now, it's not all good news. First and foremost, if you don't have a NAS system with PCIe Gen 3 times 8 or even times 4, you may feel the bottleneck. That's the whole point and the need of that PCIe connector. This is supported by not a huge number of Synology NASes in its full form. If you go to the compatibility list, the majority of the new Gen 18 series PCIe-enabled systems support this card, as well as a number of the 2020 series devices. It's worth bearing that in mind. But if you're using a system that doesn't have sufficient PCIe, or a CPU that doesn't work as well with that, you're going to hit a bit of a problem. So make sure you check your compatibility list first. And let's discuss the elephant in the room. The one thing about this card that bums me out a little bit, it's the fact those NVMe's can only be used for caching. Now, I like caching. I think caching is a very good thing, and clearly Synology does, given they've included NVMe caching bays in every one of their newer generation 20 series NASes released in summer of 2020. On top of that, DSM-7's got an improved caching algorithm and with improvements in hybrid mount, hybrid share, along with improvement of Synology's drive and file pinning and stuff like that in DSM-7, huge improvements in intelligent caching. I can see why they're prioritizing caching so very much. But a 10G card that has NVMe on it as well could really reinvent a workflow if those NVMe's could be used for raw storage as well. In the same way, a SATA SSD can be used both as storage and as caching. Unfortunately, these NVMe's can only be used for caching, which to me is a real bummer, and I just wish that's something they would think about doing. I know there are unofficial kind of GitHub patches and containers that allow you, if you look around, to use the NVMe's for raw storage, but they're unofficial. They'll probably get wiped as soon as you do a firmware update, which you should be doing on your NAS anyway, or if you reboot your system, just like that 5GBE to USB adapter that all of you think I don't know that there is a GitHub patch for, but it just gets wiped every time you reboot the system or a firmware update. So those two things there do bum me out a little bit. The not blanket compatibility of this card on all their NAS PCIe systems, which I know is a little bit out of their control, and the passage of time, but also the NVMe's not being utilized as raw storage. It's a bit of a shame, but this card arrives at about 275 quid, which is not cheap. That is more expensive than some 2-bay NASes. So you need to know that you're going to need it. And that's why I recommend going through to the compatibility list or speaking to the guys at Span, where they'll tell you more about this card and whether you need it in your system. And we will be doing performance benchmarks with this card, in my case, later today. But hopefully you'll see that video a little bit sooner. Not sooner, I'm saying the next few days with any luck. But this has been my hardware review of the E10M20-Ti. What do I think? I really like it. I think it's a great card, and I think it's a good step forward from Synology into giving the users what they want. People have been demanding a card like this for a long time, and they could have bashed out an easy, low-dense version of this card that was no frills, that just ticks some boxes, but they produced a genuinely future-proof product here, and I'm very impressed by it. But what do you guys think? Let me know by going to the NAS Compare link in the description and reading the review. Head over to the guys at span.com to see if you need this card and they can help you out. And do click like if you enjoyed this video, click subscribe to learn more, and I'll see you next time.